how would I live my life if everything was God? It was as if God really mattered. And I thought, well, I would treat human beings, with as much respect and dignity as I could, and I would, try to treat the plants and animals and the earth, with as much dignity as I could. So I started, I said, well, okay, well, I'll grow my food. I'll start growing my food because it's not going to cause such a big ecological footprint. And I'll start trying to think better and act better. And so I'm just trying to think, okay, what's the most compassionate, sustainable, and harmonious way that I could live my life? So I've been trying to put that into practice slowly but surely ever since that happened. And does anyone know the answer to this riddle? Sprouts. All right. There we go. So one of the things that I found during my search is that sprouts are the source of amazing nutrition. It's very simple to grow, and especially for people that can't afford healthy produce, this is a cheap way for them to be able to get very high nutritious for a cheap price. And you can also grow it in a very small space. Like all these sprouts here, we're just growing in our little kitchen. And so you can grow it, like you can say, like in this little space, you got a lot of food there. So we can grow a lot in a small space. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so today I'm just going to do a short presentation, and then I'm going to do some demonstrations on a few ways of sprouting. And then I've got a bunch of trays and soil, and if anyone wants, you can plant your own sprouts and take them home with you. Yeah. And then we have also made some crackers, some sprouted crackers and a sprouted pate, and we have all these sprouts that everyone is welcome to sample towards the end of the class. And then I'll answer questions. Okay. So let's talk about the history of sprouting just a little bit. It goes way back. He was in some of the earliest written literature that we have. The Emperor of China talks about it in some of his books. Captain Cook, one of the reasons that his sailors didn't get any scurvy on his seven-year mission is because they germinated seeds, along with bringing in citrus and whenever they could having fresh fruits and vegetables. But it was really the sprouts that were able to last that long time and help them get that vitamin C that they needed. Okay, and then also sprouts started to come into the foray again as they were researching food for people during World War II. It was, okay, how can we feed people? How can we get nutrition to people? And this is what one of the doctors, Dr. McKay, said about that. All right, so we can go to the next slide. All right, so has anyone heard of Weston Price? Yeah, okay, good. Well, there was a dentist who was working in the 1930s named Weston Price, and he was noticing that his patients were starting to have more decay. The ridge of their mouths were actually shrinking, and they weren't as strong. They were getting sicker. There was less vitality, and he's really concerned. And he's just going, God, what's going on? So, and he was a very religious man, and he just couldn't understand how, if man was created in God's image, how there could be getting sick so easy. How could God's creation be faulty? So what he decided to do is he decided to go and study a bunch of indigenous cultures around the world that hadn't been touched by the foods, the white sugars and the flours and things like that were just starting to get spread around the world. So he studied 14 independent cultures, some up in northern Canada, some Native Americans in the plains. He went over to Europe to the New Hebrides and I think Sweden. He went over to New Zealand with the Maoris, the Aborigines, and he went down to Africa with the Maasai and a couple other, and some of the Pacific islands, maybe even Samoa or something like that. So go ahead, Anna. So in his works, you see a bunch of pictures of people's teeth because he was a dentist. But anyway, so what he found in these traditional societies that hadn't really had much contact with the Western diet, he found that they had beautiful teeth, their health was magnificent, their bodies were well shaped, their children there was no birth defects, their children were beautiful, almost no teeth decay, and no cavities, very small percentage of cavities. And so he was really impressed with that. But he was also able to find that in these same cultures, he found populations that had gone over and were living in, say, a trading town or a sea town and stuff, where they started to have access to food made with the foods of the Western diet, white sugar, white flour, and such not. And here's some of the pictures of those people. And what he found is the roofs of their mouth would start to narrow. They started to have teeth decay, birth defects, deformities in their children. So, but amazingly, what he also found is when these people came back to their culture and started to eat their traditional diet again, that those same maladies would go away. Their teeth would get better, and they wouldn't have the birth defects and things like that. So he said, okay, that's amazing. So he said, okay, and he tried to find something that was the same, but all these cultures, their eating was just completely different. But he did find, if you'd like, you can set the tables up and sit on those maybe? I don't know. There's one chair here also.
One chair here.
And two over there.
Oh yeah, there's
3 over here. So he did find a number of things that were similar in all these cultures. And one of the things that he found is that the people ate nutrient-dense food. They were trying to get the most nutrients they could out of whatever they ate. So in areas where they eat meat, it was the organ meat is what was the prize meat of those areas because they were so packed with nutrients. Even in Canada, he found that people didn't even eat the muscle meat. They had so much caribou and stuff like that. They were just going for the organ meat and the fat. That's where the most nutrient and power was for them. He found that people ate 60 to 80% of their food raw. Even meat was eaten raw a lot of times. And when they did eat meat, they would eat it with the fermented food. And because that fermented food has all those beneficial bacteria and all those enzymes, it would help digest the cooked food. He found that in all these societies, they all germinated some type of seed or sprout or something like that. So that by germinating that, they're getting more nutrition from their seeds. They all exercise vigorously. So there's all types of things that he found. Let's go to the next slide. So these are twins. One of them stayed at home, and one of them went to work in the shipping town that was a number of miles from there. Can you guys guess which of the twins stayed at home? Right. So how did we? There we go. So how did we get from here to here? Well, let's just start around World War II. During World War II, we had all this, I guess, fuel left over from the bombs, which was nitrogen. And so they said, okay, why don't we use this nitrogen to help grow our crops? So we started to make nitrogen fertilizers and things like that. And then we had all this nerve gas left over. We said, okay, why don't we use this nerve gas to make pesticides and kill all the insects? And they said, well, we have all this technology. Why don't we use that to make tractors? And we have all this barrack technology. Why don't we use that to build track homes, and we can get all these people off of the farm into the cities, making things, being good consumers, and we can make these huge industrial farms where we can produce a whole bunch of food. And for a while, we did start to produce a lot of food, but there was a lot of side effect from that. We started to degrade our soil, and our plants started to become have less minerals in them. So, and we also started to add a lot of toxins to our soils and poisons into our ecosystems. So that was starting to cause a lot of detrimental implications. One thing we find is in this. So they started to follow this industrial model where we have these big, huge farms. When we use lots of equipment, we use a lot of technology. We use herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers, instead of using the sort of biological principles that we had been using before. And we started to export these type of farming methods throughout the world. And we've developed a food system that rewards people for creating all types of commodity crops. And these crops are supported by subsidies that the taxpayers are paying. So, and we're creating so these commodity crops are used to make a lot of the foods that are being produced right now. We see corn syrup, soy, wheat, and almost everything. And instead of thinking about the health of people, the food companies are trying to get people to eat more. And they found a way to do that. They found that people are genetically programmed to like sugar, salt, and fat. So if you put sugar, salt, and fats in things, then people are going to want to eat it. And so we started to put that in all of our food, and people started to eat more and more things, and now we're getting more and more degenerative diseases, and it's because of this sort of food policy that we've been pushing. And we've also imported that sort of industrial way of farming to other parts of the world through the World Bank and the World Trade Center, through different agreements that we have. And this way of farming is, with the subsidies, we can just flood foreign markets with cheap grain, and then that puts the local farmers out of business. So our food policy is creating a lot of suffering to the rural poor throughout the world. And our army is actually supporting these multinational companies so that they can do that, and that's getting funded by our tax dollars. So I think when we think about our food choices, when we think about what's going on in the world, I think we really have to see that it's not just ourselves, it's not just our country, it's just not our community that it's affecting people all over the world. And I think we really need to start acting so that we start trying to change our system and change the world system so that it's bringing more equity to everybody else. So that's why I think it's so important at this time of in the history to start creating more local economy, starting to be more independent, growing our own food, voting with our dollar. And I think sprouts is a good way for doing that.
The long way around.
So, why is that? Well, that sprouts, a lot of our money is going to buy, to pay for drugs, the insurance company, and things like that. So if we can eat healthier, we don't have to give that money to those people. And this is, sprouts are one of the most nutritious foods that we can eat. We can just grow them right in our kitchen, and it's a very sustainable, doesn't use very much water. So let's see, what is a sprout? So a sprout is just a seed or a grain or a nut that has been germinated. And what happens during that germination process is the magic. So here we go, is that we have our seed, and our seed, during a seed, there's a lot of enzyme inhibitors there that's keeping it in its dormant state so that it won't grow. So when we add water, the water makes the cell, causes the seed to swell, and then the seed starts, the enzyme inhibitors start to get dissolved, and then all of a sudden the magic of life happens. And during this magic of life, a lot of the proteins are turned into the amino acids. The carbohydrates are turned into simple sugars. There's an incredible amount of cell division and life and enzymes and minerals are being created, and the energy of it is just being exponentially increased during this little phase of a sprout's life. So it comes here, it shoots, this is its little radical, the beginning of the root. This is the cotyledon, so this is actually the food for the plant until it gets its first full leaves and is able to photosynthesize. But it's sort of in this stage right here, before it gets its first true leaves, that the sprout has got a lot of its nutrients and a lot of its enzymes. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So during this, there's all types of, they call them phytonutrients in plants, and those phytonutrients are filled with antioxidants. And those antioxidants are coming around and they're cleaning up a lot of the chaos that we're having in our bodies. Especially as we have more contamination in our system, it's going to be important to really eat more of these plants that have more antioxidants and more nutrients in it. They have a lot of abundance of oxygen. They have a lot of chlorophyll in them, so chlorophyll helps purify the blood. They're very alkaline, so alkaline foods are able to help balance our system because we have so much acidity in our diet. Full of vitamins and minerals. Sometimes they increase by 400 or 500%. So just a really nutritious food. And also when you buy produce from the supermarket, when you cut a piece of lettuce or most food, as soon as you cut it, it's losing energy and minerals. So by the time a lot of our produce gets to the store, it's like a week or longer. So they've lost a lot of their nutrients. But a sprout is something that's still growing. So we're just going to cut this right here, and we're going to eat that. So you're eating something that's living, something that's fresh and full of minerals and nutrients. Okay, next slide. Zatso.
Can we show our cat?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's really great for animals too. Our cat isn't allowed outside because of the coyotes, and she loves the wheatgrass. So if there's tons of enzymes and nutrients in grass.
She says no. No one told her.
But she does. She loves it. She was trying to jump up on our, about 8 feet up to get to our wheatgrass a couple of days ago. So enzymes sprouts, because of that biological process that's happening, are full of enzymes. They have more enzymes than any other, almost anything there is. And those enzymes can help us with our digestion and other processes that need to go on in our body. So that's another great way, another great reason for including sprouts. And that's going to help with all the contamination that's coming into the environment these days. All right, next.
What would the difference be between food enzymes and digestive enzymes?
Digestive enzymes is just a type of enzyme. So there's 3 types of enzymes, and then that's just one of them. Okay. All right. So a lot of people, well, through the ages, but now they're finding that sprouts have incredible nutrition for preventing and even stopping diseases. And I think you might hear a lot about broccoli sprouts for preventing cancer. So that's just an example. Is what happens in broccoli sprouts is there's a number of phytonutrients that fight cancer, but the most famous one now is called sulforaphane. And in sprouts, there's about 50 to 100 more times sulforaphane than there is in a whole broccoli. So by eating a handful of sprouts, you're getting that much more of this anti-cancer nutrient. So, and in a lot of these, in a lot of this young age, the sprouts have more of these substances because they don't want to be eaten by herbivores and things like that. So they have sort of more of these protective substances. And what research is finding is that they're really excellent for all types of things. And if you go to this website right here, they have almost every disease there is, and then they have research of how sprouts are used to heal that disease. So it's a really fun resource if you want to see what type of sprouts might be working for you, and if you want to get more educated about that. All right. Okay, so sprouts are used for all types of things: salads, curries, soups. You can make bread with wheat sprouts. Another great thing about, I guess, germinating things is like when you have beans. Beans have something called phytic acid in them, and phytic acid is something that is an anti-nutrient. So it blocks the absorption of protein, calcium, and other minerals. So if you sprout your beans, if you soak them, you're reducing the amount of that phytic acid. And there's also phytic acid in wheat. Like a lot of the bread that we're eating, it has phytic acid and it's blocking a lot of the nutrients.
Can
Yes.
you spell that?
Let's see, PHYATIC and phytic acid. So the germination process is able to reduce the amount of that phytic acid there is. So it's even if you want like even nuts like almonds or some nuts and seeds, if you soak them and germinate them, you're going to increase the nutritional content in them. If you germinate beans, again you're having a lot more nutrition, a lot more nutrients are being created in that germination process. So this is a way, even if you cook it, you're going to be increasing the nutrients that you have. And that's what, yeah.
Now, most of the nuts, as I understand it, that we purchase in the store are heat treated and they're not really raw. I'm wondering when we soak those, what are we getting as a result?
Yeah. Well, I believe isn't it only the almonds that are pasteurized?
I know almonds for sure.
Yeah, I believe the other ones that are raw truly are raw. So yeah, if you get roasted nuts, the acids have gone rancid. And they're carcinogenic. So you don't want to eat the roasted nuts. You want to eat raw nuts. And if you're having if they cause you any type of digestive problems or anything like that, if you soak them, then it releases some of that phytic acid, and that can make them more digestible. And you're also getting that increase in enzymes and nutrition from soaking. Okay, next slide. All right, now we're going to talk about sprouting methods. So Matthew, would you like to demonstrate some things for me? Come on up. So another thing about sprouts is they're amazingly simple to grow. And can we go to the? Okay, let me just go. Just hold on for a second, okay? All right. So go back one slide. I just want to go through the next one. No, I want with the jar. Yeah, right here. Back one. There we go. Okay. So this is your step one. Is the first thing you want to do is you want to wash your sprouts. So you just get some sprouts. You put some water in there. Maybe shake it a little bit. What I do is I put like a screen on top of it. This is just screen and a rubber band, and then I just pour that water off. We'll do that. And then the next thing is you want to soak them. So the soaking gives that's what starts that germination process. So the enzyme inhibitors are washed off and stuff. And there's sprouting charts that you can get that will tell you how much to put in, how long to soak it, how many times to rinse it, and how many days it'll take to sprout. There's tons of them online, so you can do that. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so then we rinse it, or you soak it, and then the next thing you want to do is you need to let there be air. You need to have air in there, so you need aeration, and then we need to keep it wet. So about 2 times a day, we just in the morning and evening we just put some water and pour it off. And that's it. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, another one. So what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate sprouting mung beans. So I look here. This is for an 8-ounce glass, and I see 1/3 cups of mung beans, and I need to soak it for 5 to 10 hours. All right. So would you like to pour some water into this? So I put 1/3. I've already put 1/3 of mung beans in there. Can you pour some water? I'm pouring that for you. Okay, pour it in there. Okay, that's enough. All right. Okay, give that a little shake. All right. Now if you can pour that excess water in there. So we just cleaned it. All right, hold that. When you fill it for your soaking, you want to go about 2 or 3 times more than what you have because it's going to absorb a lot of water. So then we just make sure everything's in. And if any of the seeds float, that means they're no good. We can take those out. Looks like we're good here. So then we wait 8 hours or overnight, and then what we do? Okay, can you pour that out?
Are we pretending that 8 hours is gone?
Yeah, 8 hours is gone.
Okay.
Okay, and then what you want to do if you use this jar is you want to have it at an angle because you got to drain that water out. If that water stays in there, you're going to get mold. I think that might be happening in your sprouter. So you got to make sure that and you need good circulation. You need air. And for the first few days, the sprouts like it dark. Like this is all right. This for the beginning. This is no This amount of light is fine. It doesn't have to be pitch dark, but it can be pitch dark. And mung beans, they never like the light. So you can actually do it in a closet or something like that. Just as long as you've got enough air in there, you can do your pulses, mung beans, azuki beans, and things like that in the closet.
What will you get if you don't clean the water?
What's that? You get mold.
Oh, mold.
Yeah. So here you go. Okay, we drained it. Now, later in the evening, to keep this going, can you pour some more water? You need to rinse it. And that's just to keep it moist and to rinse off any problems that they're there. Okay, that's fine.
After you drink the water, are you rinsing it off?
You remember those enzyme inhibitors? I don't think you want to drink them. But I use them for the 8-hour soak. I don't water plants with, but this soak I will. Okay, you want to pour that out?
Can you just use tap water, or would it be better to use filtered water?
I would use, you can use tapped water. I would use filter water for your soaking. But for your rinsing, that's up to you. And then, so that's it. So you rinse your sprout, you put it back and you let it stay, and then in the evening you come home from work and you rinse them again. And that's it until, and they'll, can you go to the sprout chart? So 3 to 5 days, it's ready. And the way that you know that it's ready, here's some finished mung beans here, is the tail is about the same size as the sprout is. You guys can all look at it after during the tasting and after the class. But that's for these legumes. That's how you tell if the tail is about the size of the sprout. And it can be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. That's fine.
Is Matthew going to keep his mung bean sprouts?
Definitely. You can take those home, right? All right, we're going to have, that's the mung beans, and then I'll just show you, these are clover. So you do the exact same process, except you want to green these clovers up with sun, so they get more chlorophyll in them. So after maybe 5 days, you get them out in a little bit more sun than this, so that they can get that chlorophyll and more nutrients.
What are they?
These are clover sprouts. All right.
So which of those would you expose to sun to get chlorophyll?
Yeah.
The alfalfa?
Alfalfa and clover are the ones that I would on that one.
Broccoli?
I
The broccoli ones?
Yeah, you can do if you want. Broccoli, they say it's most potent in about 3 days, so that would be before. But this is broccoli growing in soil, and this goes in the sun. Okay. So if you're growing these greens, when you're ready to harvest them, what I do is I just start harvesting a little bit at a time. Like this might take me 3 days to eat. But what I do, you ready, Matthew? Can you take some of these out? You put them in that water. I wash the holes off of them.
Oh.
The holes.
The
It's
holes.
the seed, the leftover seed. So we put them in there. Okay, you gotta wash them, all right? Can you put all of that in there? All right. So you put it in. You just put it in water that overflows it, and you just push it down. The holes come up, and then you can just take it right out of there. And what I do is I just take as much as I need for that day, wash it, eat it, and I grow. I grow these just a little bit longer.
So that huge jar of clover is just 2 tablespoons of clover?
A little bit more, maybe 4. 2 tablespoons will do a little the quart jar. So just for a little, your seeds expand 8 to 15 times the little seed. So you're getting a lot more food for your bang. So that's why sprouting is so inexpensive. For I don't know how much mung beans, they don't cost that much, but then you sprout them and you've got 2 or 3 times more than that.
So the mung bean,
Uh-huh.
when you got to that point, if you let it go longer, it's gonna get like this. Or you eat like that.
You eat like that. Yeah, the mung bean
So
you eat
they
a
are
smaller.
different. Like
Yes.
Would you
Yes.
take them out, put them in the refrigerator to stop them?
Right, yeah. So after you're done, if you're not ready to eat them, you can put them in the refrigerator in an airtight container, and they'll last another week or
And
something
they
like
stop
that.
growing.
Yeah.
So maybe stop watering and then rinsing them then?
Yes.
But over the 3 to 5 days that you're, or your couple of days that you're eating those, are you still rinsing them and keeping
Yes.
them out? Okay.
Yes.
I'm wondering about this process of transferring the sprouts to the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Because I understand it's important to get the sprouts as dry as possible so
Uh-huh.
they keep better. And I'm trying to find a way of doing that which would be more economically sustainable instead of using a lot of paper towels to dry it off.
Okay. What type of sprouts are you talking about? All of them?
Quinoa?
Quinoa?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would do is after you let it drain overnight,
Yeah.
then it should be pretty dry then.
It's not.
It's not.
What about salad spin?
For quinoa, it's so small.
Well, yeah, but to be honest, quinoa you should really eat within 24 hours, shouldn't you? Unless
Yeah, it goes off
it
pretty
goes
fast.
off and causes a terrible amount of digestive turbulence.
I think that
You may not
quinoa is a little bit of a challenge, but yeah, a lot of times, by the time when I let it drain overnight or something, it's usually relatively dry, and then I just transfer it. But how I like to do it is I just eat it out of the, I just take as much as I need and I eat it. I hardly ever go into the fridge if I can help it. But sometimes I need to. Sometimes it's just going to go off.
Right.
And your temperature is going to affect how fast things, how fast they grow and mature. If it's hot, it grows faster. Yeah.
I'm worried about the quantity. It seems like that big jar for alfalfa or clover might be too much for.
Well, just do a
starting
little.
from scratch.
Just do a little. Where's that money? Just do a little jar like that.
Would you
Yeah.
recommend that for one person?
To begin with, but once you start liking sprouts, you'll be like this. All right, let's. Okay, I want to show you the next. Let's go through some other methods here. Okay, so there's other ways. There's a bag method. So you do the same thing as you soak it, and then you can just put it in a bag and hang it up, and then you just rinse it twice a day. Okay, next. Colander. That's how I grew these guys. Just in a colander here. I soaked them. Just poured them in the colander, put a cloth over them. Put them over, what's that? This is lentil. And then I just put it over, put a bowl under it. And then twice a day I rinsed it. So this is another real simple way of doing it. What's the next one? Colander. You can use a cloth or a paper towel. In the 70s, that's how my mom used to do alfalfa, was on a wet paper towel.
They're good for slimy seeds. aren't
Yeah,
they?
like chia or something like that. Next one. You can use sprouters. And you can use trays. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate next, is how to plant trays. All right, are you ready, Matthew? Can you grab that tray right there? So I've already put this, let's keep this right here. Go ahead and put it right in there.
Are people going to be able to see what you do?
I think they can figure it out. We'll lift it higher. So I've put about 1 inch or 1.5 inches of soil in there. Doesn't need that much soil. And the first thing that I do is I water it. Is there a watering can? Can you get that watering can, Matthew? Think you can water that? All right. So I give it some water. That's enough. Perfect. That's probably a little bit too much water. But I get the soil wet. Maybe we'll go. Let's come back up here. Hey, let's move this here. And then let's see, what should we plant? How about sunflower seeds? You like sunflower sprouts? All right. So before you plant your seeds in soil, what you want to do is you want to rinse them and soak them, and then you want to germinate them for a few days. And when you know your seed is ready for planting, is you just start getting this little root coming out here. So when your root starts to come out, that's about when it's ready to plant. And all we do is I just sprinkle it on the top of the soil. You want to do that? Can you do that? Grab some seeds there.
It seems like a lot more work than just putting them in the soil and watering them. Is there a reason for soaking them and rinsing them?
Yeah, it just gets that. It just germinates it, and you get more of everything happens at the same time. It just speeds the process up. Actually, you can put it in the soil, but it's going to take longer, and you might not have as a consistent maturity. Yeah, you might just have sort of small things like that. Yeah. So I just spread it out. I just go. And I have it so they're just touching each other. Go ahead and do that so they're just touching each other. So once the seeds are all spread, and I have them real dense, almost so they're almost all touching each other. And then you can either water them with a watering can, or if you like, you can just use a spray bottle, and you spray them down. And then, okay, that's good for now. And then what you need, just like the other seeds, they need to be dark for about 3 or 4 days. And what will happen is your seed will get about this tall, depending on what you're growing. But for like wheat or peas or sunflower, once your sprout is about this big, then you can take that top off and let it get sunlight. So you want to keep it dark for a little while. And can you spray those?
And they look terrible when you take the cardboard off. They're all yellow, and you wonder what on earth's going on.
Yeah, go back a little farther.
They need sunlight. That's right. Yes, turn them green.
So you can use, actually, what I do is how I cover it is I just cover it with another box. I put this on top, just another tray. I don't have enough for everybody to do that, so I made a bunch of these tops for them. So that's how you plant in trays. So I guess for the rest of our, next I'm going to answer some questions. And then after questions, I don't think I have enough trays for everybody, but whoever really wants, I have about maybe 20, 22 trays. Whoever wants to take some sprouts home, I've got soil over here. And you can put soil and sprinkle. I've got a choice of broccoli, this is buckwheat, and sunflower seeds. So if anyone would like to plant their own trays and take them home, you're welcome to do that. And then we're just going to have tasting. We've got broccoli, sunflower. Those are pea shoots up there. That's buckwheat lettuce over there. I've got some clover, mung bean, and lentils. And we have some crackers which are made from soaked sunflower seeds and flax. And pate, which is made with soaked and sprouted whole sunflower seeds. So after we answer some questions, can you put more of those on there? Get them so there are more of these ones. So, okay, any questions? Yes.
Do you reuse the same soil for a few plantings, or do you replenish it, or re-nutrify it with compost each time?
Yeah, what I do is I compost it because there might be some pathogens in that soil. So I put it through a compost. I compost it again just to purify it and remineralize.
Are you using straight compost?
I beg your pardon?
And are you using compost soil to just straight compost to begin with? Or?
I am. I'm just
Okay.
going into straight compost. Oh, and okay, here's, if you want to do, I'm sorry, if you'd like to do a trade, here are some of the options that you can do. You can just get an organic potting soil from the store. You can use your compost, but it's got to be finished compost. You can get coconut coir. You can grow in peat moss. Here's a nice ratio that I like to use, and you could also use like vermiculite. So here's some of your soil questions. All right, did we have another question back there? Something? Yeah.
What was the chemical you were talking about in broccoli?
Sulforaphane.
And what does that do?
What's-
Was that the anti-cancer?
Yeah. It's actually what happens is when you eat broccoli and you get that broccoli strong taste. It's actually it's a chemical reaction that happens right when you chew it to deter predators. Yeah. Another question? Yeah.
Where do you get the screen for your jars?
Home Depot.
Just a screen for windows or doors?
Yeah.
And your seeds?
Okay, that's a good question. You can get your seeds from the health food store, but what we do is you're in Escondido, so we get them in bulk at Sun Organic, which is in San Marcos, and we just go. They do. You can just go up and get. You have to order them on the phone, right?
Well, it's an online company that happens to be based in San Marcos, so if you can't get to San Marcos, order them online. It's sunorganicfarm.org. But if you live near San Marcos, you want to go in, they have a shop which is open, I think, 9 to 4, Monday to Friday, and you can just go in and collect what you want. You do get a price break if you buy things like broccoli and £10. You know, then it's a lot cheaper than buying a pound at the health food store.
Yeah. I'll get you notes. Yes?
Also, do you know anything about this marsh method for sprouting?
No, I haven't.
Apparently uses much less water.
Okay. Yeah, I reuse my water for watering plants and things like that. So, but yeah, I'll have to check it out. Yes.
Do you put a drip tray at all underneath?
Yes, I do. I do put a drip tray underneath.
Otherwise, they'd be dry.
Yes.
Yes.
What, do you just eat this raw, or do you have recipes for cooking with it, or what do you do?
Yeah, we eat it raw, like the mung and the lentil sprouts, and even the bean sprouts. You could even put in a stir fry or something. But they're great in stir fries or
Curry.
what's that?
Curry.
Curries and things like that. Soups. They're really great. Yeah.
If you add heat, does that take away from any of the good enzymes it sprouts?
Yeah. Once you
Cheaper
heat
fat
higher
ones.
than 108, you start to kill the enzymes, and you start to lose nutrition also. But with sprouted legumes, some people there are still some anti-nutrients. So for some people with weak digestion, it's better to cook them. Any other questions? No other questions? All right. Well, why don't we start sampling, and those who want to grow your own sprouts, you can come over here on this side. And maybe if we had, Ann, do we need some volunteers to cut for people?
Sure,
or-
we've got 4 pairs of